Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Mental House. I am your host, Khadijah. Um, you know what, y'all? Let me say this: victory, victory has 1,000 fathers. You know, and defeat is an orphan, and I really mean that. Marinate on that for a minute. Victory has 1,000 fathers, right? But defeat is an orphan. And I'm saying this to begin this conversation. Actually, it's an extension of a conversation that we had a couple weeks ago that I brought up, and a couple people hit me up on my email privately, and I decided not to respond, and because a lot of times when y'all say something to me, um, I don't just necessarily say who it came from unless you've given me permission. But a lot of times I'll mention the email or the comment. And with this particular subject, we were talking about incest. And even though I know a lot more people subscribe than comment, I take it as the conversations, the tough conversations to have. Even um, that's what I liken it to. I just think it's the conversations are hard to have. And so as I was thinking about that today, as I was watching a video, and this video consisted of McKenzie Phillips, and I'm sure a lot of y'all know. She used to come on one day at a time, one day at a time. I think it was Valerie Bertinelli and McKenzie Phillips. She was the wild one. And actually, for those of you who don't know, her dad is John Phillips. All the leaves are brown, and the sky is gray, I went for a walk, right, on a winter's day. I'd be safe and warm, if I was in LA. California dreaming. Anyway. I'm regressing here. Um, her father, Michelle McKenzie, accused and alleged that he had sex with her as a young girl, young teenager, and a lot of people gave her a lot of wow flack, and I think that was more of her family members because the support and the doors that she opened up when she brought up the subject of incest was really mind-boggling. And again, I'm just looking at it in terms of me bringing in the subject of it, and um, not having a lot of responses, not having a lot of people that wanted to make a comment on the page itself, but to be hit up personally on my email to uh, be informed that yeah, I've experienced that, and my life has been the living hell since this has happened to me, and it's something that I carry on to other relationships. I feel like I'm walking through life in a fog. I am extremely angry, and it is all because of the incest that I experienced as a child. Now, what makes Mackenzie's story, um, a lot, I guess, of course, she's not only is she a celebrity, her mother her stepmother is Michelle Phillips, who was also part of that group. It was Cass Elliott and Michelle Phillips, who's also the mother of Wilson Phillips and who else is it? China Phillips. So what has basically happened since McKenzie has revealed this information is that it split this family right down the middle. She's not wanted, um, and the family considers it a total act of betrayal. Now, this is her truth. This is her life, and because she was a drug user, her family and others want to minimize her experience, want to downplay the fact that her memory can't serve her correctly because she was so full of drugs and alcohol, which I find even more humiliating than um, than just the act itself. Um, yes, while I know that there is a reality that when you use drugs, people try to invalidate you and minimize some of your experiences. And in some cases, that may have some validity to it, and maybe they should in some cases. But in my opinion, in order for most women who admit something like that, the courage that it takes to even come forth and admit something like that um, makes it highly improbable that it's false, in my opinion. Because not only that, with the shame and the guilt that these women have to carry around with them, knowing that not only have they um, had a relationship with somebody that's close to them, but is the first man in most cases that they fall in love with their father in a healthy way. So when a father is mixing these kind of emotions up inside of a sex act, it becomes so detrimental and so confusing to a child that words can just words can't explain the guilt and the shame um, that these men riddle these young girls with. Now, granted, I know John is not here to defend himself, and believe me, if he was, I don't believe he would. I don't believe he would. I feel bad that she's lost her family, and but this is what we talk about in most families. When you know that Uncle Ray Ray or so and so was a child molester, nobody ever thinks about why is he here. Nobody ever thinks about why isn't he in jail. What we would rather do is to protect him and to tell the children to stay away from Uncle Ray Ray. I want McKenzie, I know she'll never hear this video, more than probably not, but I believe her. Um, and I think one of the most um, hurtful uh, friendships, relationship that I know, the most destructive relationships that I know that I've had with individuals, and I think, and I won't even say with individuals, I think the most destructive relationship that I've had was with an individual who was molested by her stepfather. Now, all the shame and all the guilt and all of that, whatever that encompasses, was not that child's fault. But because at an early age, and in this case it was even before, even earlier age than McKenzie, the person, it developed BPD, And I think a lot of times when people do the origin of borderline personalities, they find out that a lot of the victims of borderline um, have been victims of sexual abuse by incest by a family member. Well, I guess that's kind of redundant because if it's incest, it is a family member. But you know what I'm saying. Um, so I'm saying this to say, I believe that China, her sister China, is probably one of the only few people, and I don't know about now, but China was the only one that was supportive, and I think that of course she had her mother and her son and the father of her son. But all the other family members, have deserted her. Of course, you got, was it Mabaju? Uh, you got, who else is it? Wilson. Um, there's a bunch of those girls. The mother, who was a part of the Mamas and the Papas, that's Michelle. And she should probably know how freaky John was. I mean, and she wasn't the angel herself. I mean, because come on, her and John was in the group together. Then she started sleeping with the other guy. So just wild sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Y'all know how it go in show business. But what I'm trying to say here is, McKenzie has been made to feel and has been invalidated by a lot of people in her own family because she went forward and freed herself from the abuse, mentally, emotionally, and physically, that she suffered at the hands of her own father. McKenzie has no reason to feel ashamed. McKenzie has no reason to feel that um, she did something wrong. Although she paid the ultimate high price for that revelation, you would think that at some point her father, her family would support her just because of the courage that it took to admit something like that. And instead of them saying, they're so bent on saying, well, John is not here and he can't defend himself, as opposed to what would make a girl lie. Most girls are crazy about their fathers. And again, what will make a girl, a daughter, lie on her dad like that? McKenzie, if I recall correctly, she was like a vagabond child, and her father was living the hippie life, and her mom, of course, is not China. I mean, I'm sorry, is not Michelle. Her mom is someone else that he was married to, and I think that, if I'm not mistaken, um, Michelle was sleeping with him, while he was married to this first woman who I believe he has another son by her as well. I think it was McKenzie and her brother, and I think her mom was maybe some starlet or some Hollywood actress. But he would send for his daughter, and she would be all over the country with him as a little kid. McKenzie would be everywhere, and not all over the world with her dad, with his guitar strapped to his back. So at the end of the day, the relationship that she had with her father, I'm sure, is no different than any other daughter that falls in love with her father. It's just that drugs and the role it played in their lives is just so destructive. And the fact that John is not here to defend himself, in my opinion, does not matter. It does not invalidate what McKenzie is saying. Because a lot of times when you're in a situation like that, you wait till a parent is not here before you reveal it. Because the shame and the guilt that you have, and even the loyalty to the very end that you may have for these people, will cause you not to want to embarrass them or even expose them while they're still alive. You don't want to be the cause of them dying, so to speak. So it goes both ways, But I'm sure it was very freeing for her to some degree. And I know that on the other side of that coin, it was extremely, extremely, extremely painful. for her to reveal the incestuous relationship between her and John Phillips. So I wanted to just make mention of that because, some things are really difficult to live, let alone talk about. But for anybody who has courage and they have traveled down that road, I wish you peace. I wish you freedom. And I wish you true unconditional love. All right? All right. If you like what you hear, please, y'all, like, subscribe. And I'll see you next time right here in the Mental House. Bye-bye.